Hello and welcome to Rise and Unwind, Raleigh. Each and every week I try to bring people from across the country to talk to me about things you can do in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, I got this.
Funeral directors who would take money from people saying, yes, we will have your loved one, your child, your husband, your parent cremated. And then they were just letting the bodies pile up.
It's a book about battling mental health and mental illness, and it, Paz is a character who, is struggling with a will to live, and, the other boy, Alano, is determined to save him.
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind Raleigh. Meth gators, drunk bears, and a herd of cocaine hippos. No, that's not your local karaoke bar or a rejected sci-fi script. It's real life. Wildlife biologist and adventurer Forrest Galante is exposing a bizarre way that humans' vices are wreaking havoc on the animal kingdom. In his new Discovery Channel series, Animals on Drugs, he digs into how these creatures got hooked, what it means for their ecosystems, and hopefully they could go into rehab. So Forrest joins us now. How can you help? Welcome to the show, Forrest. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm really well, Dan. Thanks for having me. Heck of an intro.
All right. Well, when people hear Animals on Drugs, they think it's a joke, and yeah, I made a few jokes out of that. But this is actually a very real and serious problem. What inspired you to tackle this story?
Yeah, great question. It is loud, it is salacious, but it is also a very timely and real problem. The inspiration came from me actually having a run-in my own neighborhood where a bear would repeatedly break into my trash and recycling, and one time came in and clearly showed a preference for alcohol. This set me on a whole path of research that ended up me discovering that human substances are having these negative consequences on animals and their ecosystems the world over, whether that's the illicit drug trade of cocaine with Pablo Escobar bringing hippos in that are literally killing people and destroying habitat, or meth and ED drugs and things like that getting flushed down toilets in Florida that are leading to quite literal meth gators. It's having really large negative side effects on the animals. And my entire goal in life is to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. And this is a really large conflict that is, for the most part, going unspoken.
So you're saying some of these animals are actually seeking out the drugs and vices for themselves?
The only ones that we encountered that were generally seeking it out, and if you think about it, they have an instinctual drive to do so, were the bears. Now, with the advent of all of these new really sugary alcoholic drinks, whether that's alcoholic kombucha or ciders, or the White Claws and seltzers of the world, those animals are hardwired to seek sugar to put on weight, those animals being bears, during the spring and summer to get ready for the winter. So they are genuinely going for alcohol. In the case of cocaine hippos, they're just a side effect of the cocaine industry. And when it comes to meth gators, they are really bioaccumulating methamphetamines from the waterways into the smaller fish, into the larger fish, that by the time they get into the alligators are having really high potency effects. So it's very case-by-case basis. For the most part, they're not seeking it out, but they are being exposed to it with or without their own choice.
Beyond the stories, what's the bigger message here? What do you think viewers can walk away with, like understanding the relationship between humans and wildlife?
The biggest message here, Dan, is that everything's connected, and everything we do, whether that's, literally taking Viagra to have a good night and then peeing in the toilet, which ends up in our waterways, which ends up literally stopping reproduction in certain animals. It's all connected. The ecosystem, the planet is all connected one way or another. And understanding that if we make better choices and are a little bit more responsible in how we discard things and how we manage getting rid of our own vices, then we can have a healthier planet, a better ecosystem if we just make those choices, because it does affect creatures that don't have a say in it.
All right, you're also part of Alien Shark's Death Down Under. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, again, it's a loud, salacious, silly title, but it's a really cool show and tell of sharks that don't get the spotlight very frequently. In that show, I believe we have 17 different species of elasmobranch. We look at some of the only venomous sharks in the world and even test the potency of that venom on the human system, which hasn't been tested before. So it's a really cool show. If you missed it on Discovery Channel, you can catch up on Discovery Plus or HBO Max. We've got other Shark Weeks, Animals on Drugs. anything to do with conservation and wildlife, I'm all about it, and I'm trying to put it out there for people to love.
Venomous sharks, animals on drugs. You have a very interesting career following all this stuff, man.
I do indeed. I'm very lucky. I get to follow my passion every day, which is to communicate wildlife conservation and science. And I just am so glad to hear when people fall in love with animals because of it.
Check out Animals on Drugs, Monday, July 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on Discovery Channel. And keep an eye out for Forrest and Alien Sharks, Death Down Under, and Florida's Death Beach, both airing during Shark Week. For more info, visit discovery.com or follow them on social media at Discovery. Hey, Forrest, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Do you ever wonder what it really takes to earn one of the most iconic uniforms in sports? I would love one, but I wouldn't look good in it. Season 2 of America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders just dropped on Netflix, and it gives us an all-access pass to the high-pressure world of DCC auditions, training camp, and the life under those stadium lights. So joining us today is longtime DCC director Kelly Finglass, along with current squad members Jada McLean and Reese Weaver, here with a sneak peek behind the Pompoms. Welcome to the show, you three. How are you?
Good morning.
Great.
All right. This new season really takes viewers deeper than it has ever done before. What made you want to tell more of the story this time around, Kelly?
Well, there's just, it's a beautiful story. It's beautiful people, and I've always been very, very proud of the dance and performance achievements of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, but Netflix has now put a new lens on the cheerleaders as individuals, and you get to see this beautiful, complex life of Jada, and you see Reese's personal story, getting married, and her experiences with being a new bride. It's just it's captivating, and they're all someone that different people can relate to and be inspired from.
Jada and Reese, what was it like to have cameras following you along your journey? I have a hard time with the ones that are in this room. Did anything surprise you about like watching it back after everything?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too surprised just because, for one, we lived it. But I think we have a great camera team. I think they do their best to just be there. They don't really, force anything. They don't try to get in the middle of, anything going on. They kind of just hang around and film. So everything is very authentic, and it is really how it, was lived out. They're just there to capture it.
The show really captures how intense the training process is. What kind of pressure do you guys as dancers face both physically and emotionally?
I think, as dancers, we, from a very young age, we're constantly looking at ourselves in the mirror, and we're trying to learn technique and moves and all sorts of things in the mirror. And I think that can sometimes negatively have an effect on dancers as they grow older with comparison or wanting to have certain strengths that other girls have. But I think that for us, we all know that we are cream of the crop, and we do our best in everything that we do, but we also push ourselves. And so I'm just really grateful for the sisterhood that we have, and that camaraderie of making sure that we're the best in all that we do.
And you get to see a lot of sisterhood and personal growth this season. How has being part of the DCC changed your lives beyond the field?
Yeah, I've met some of my best friends on this team, and truly they've shaped me. They've taught me a lot about myself. They've taught me a lot about, being a good friend, being a good teammate, and being a good human being. So I'm grateful for these women. They are a lot more beautiful on the inside than they are on the outside. I know that's probably hard to believe, but I think they are amazing individuals, and I'm just so grateful to be surrounded by people like them.
I want to thank you three for joining me this morning. If you love football, dance, or just that great underdog story, check out America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, now streaming on Netflix. Thank you three for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
What if you knew exactly when your life would end? Adam Silvera's hit series, They Both Die at the End, flipped the idea into a worldwide phenomenon. And now he's back with a powerful third installment, The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. The book is already making waves and marks 10 books in 10 years for Adam, who's kind of grown up alongside with the readers. We're thrilled to welcome the TikTok sensation and the #1 New York Times best-selling author, Adam Silvera. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing so well, Dan. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so let's start with the title. The survivor wants to die at the end. It's kind of a bold title. What does that mean for the character of Paz and for the readers?
Well, I mean, I think every title in this series, especially They Both Die at the End, is like a bold title for this series. So I feel like I have to like keep the trend going at this point. But, you know, it was really important for me to signal what kind of story this is. You know, I think in the same way with They Both Die at the End, where I wanted to prepare readers for that ending, whether or not they believed it. I think 3 books into the series now, they trust that what I say in the title is what I mean. You know, and I like it's a book about battling mental health and mental illness, and Paz is a character who is struggling with a will to live, and the other boy Alano is determined to save him, and so I just wanted to write the story about like, yeah, he may want to die and be having this ongoing battle with his mental illness, but life is worth living.
And the Deathcast universe has kind of grown into something really personal for a lot of fans. What keeps drawing you back to it as a writer?
I mean, I heard this quote one time that all great stories about love or death, and this series is definitely about love and death, and and I think all my work will continue to be. It's something that I'm constantly grappling with, like questions about death and mortality, and these books have been a really beautiful way for me to explore these questions that I keep asking myself over the years.
And this book also explores some like heavy stuff. It's grief, loneliness, and I guess even a group called the Death Guard. How do you balance all that with the message about learning to live?
Well, I mean, I think we're no strangers to opposition in this world and to really like terrifying times, and yet it's in our best interest to find the beauty in life, right? And to find the people that make us feel safe and make us feel secure and make us feel loved, and knowing that even in the darkest of times, those people are out there, and it's really important for us to be reaching out to them. And even if we are in a place of strength ourselves, to be making sure that we're checking in on the people who might not be as strong as we are right now and might be a little bit more vulnerable.
And you've published about 10 books in 10 years. That's pretty crazy. Looking back, how has your writing and your audience pretty much evolved over that time?
I mean, it's wild. I mean, I've met some readers from the first book back in 2015, start as like freshmen starting high school, and I've now seen them exit college and get their first jobs. And some of them I've written college recommendation letters for over the years because I've known them for so long as young people who were just attending my events and always had such inquisitive questions, and were just so impressive. So it's been really wild I started publishing when I was 25 and about to be 35 next month, and my life has changed in so many ways, and much gratitude to those readers who have gotten me to this place. And my writing has only gotten stronger because I have one rule with every book. It is for that book to be better than the last book, right? Like I can't control the quality of a book 10 years ago, right? I did the best that I could at that time, but now I can be better than that last book with more time.
And you've also built a really passionate community online, especially on TikTok. How has that changed the way you've connected with readers or even write your own stories?
I think sometimes there's this idea that maybe there's going to be like more pressure from having like a bigger fan base that I now am going to be like scared to write. I'm like, I mean, whether I'm writing for like 1 reader or like 1 million readers, right? Like my process, like the only person's like review that I can control is my own. So as long as I know that like I'm happy with the book I put out there, I will never doubt the quality of it. I'm like, okay, this book just simply didn't connect with people at this point in time. But I've been fortunate enough that the energy that I put into this book is being well received by the readers who are picking it up.
The Survivor Wants to Die at the End is available now wherever books are sold. To learn more about Adam and his work, go to adamsilvera.com. Hey, thanks for joining me this morning, my friend.
Thank you so much, Dan. Really appreciate it.
All right, I'm here with Ari Aster, director and writer of the new movie Eddington, and I'm just gonna have to tell you that I hate you. And the reason why is you put me through so much stress today watching that movie. I loved this film.
Oh, good.
It's hard to start an interview by saying I hate you and I also love the film all in the same statement.
No, that's good.
You set this during a really tough time in history. During COVID-19, you have a sheriff kind of struggling through a lot of personal issues while dealing with, I guess, professional issues.
Yeah, among other issues, yeah.
And it's all set in a small New Mexico town. What brought you to, focus all of that energy in a really interesting time in a small town, which shouldn't have really that big of an impact on the world, but in this movie, massive impact. What kind of put you there?
Well, I'm from New Mexico.
Yes.
I grew up here, so I wanted to make a film in New Mexico. I've wanted to for a long time, and in late spring, early summer 2020, I was here in New Mexico, and I just wanted to make a film about the environment, and I don't mean the environment in New Mexico, but rather what was happening in the country, what was happening all over the world, but just basically make a film about a bunch of people who are living on the internet and who are living in different realities. And then make a film about, what happens when these people who are not reachable to each other and they're living in separate realities, what happens when they start bumping up against each other? And what's the logic that comes out of that, right? Pushing them deeper into their paranoia and convictions, and how that, it leads to violence because there's nothing in the ether that's holding them together anymore.
I had noticed in this movie, it's probably the greatest usage of phones I've ever seen in my entire history of watching movies. It was really natural. What was your decision in doing it that way on this film?
Well, on set we were calling it "Screens the Movie," right? And so yeah, I'm glad you felt that it felt natural.
Yeah.
At the same time, I wanted them to be so pervasive that they almost became like nauseating. Like, to almost have them be to have them over time become kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's and just to foreground all of that, because I think we're living in a really weird time, and it's easy to forget that because, again, all these things are so pervasive that they become ambient, and things that are obvious kind of become less so when they're ambient, right? It becomes banal. But the way that we're living on these phones, and then what's coming with AI, already that's been kind of normalized, but it's weird. It's weird.
I totally agree with you. I like how you used it, and it was such a natural usage of the technology in it.
We need to free each other's hearts.
Your movies do have a lot of themes about generational trauma, and I've noticed that. Is there a reason, or do you have a feeling that's you have to highlight some of this generational trauma in some of these films, or why it's important for you to kind of cover some of these themes in movies?
It's not as it's not so conscious as all of that. But I don't know. We've all got trauma.
We do.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there is.
It gives every character one heck of a backstory, or at least history to their story. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think this film in particular is about a bunch of people who have their own histories, and they also turn to history to shore up their beliefs, whatever they are. Some of them are directly oppositional, and it's about people who are kind of lost in themselves, and they're living in their heads. And so, yeah, it's I more than any other film I've made, I want this to sort of function as like a landscape, where it's Joaquin Phoenix is his character, Sheriff Joe Cross. He's the main character, but I want I wanted to pull back as far as I could and give as broad a picture of the political, ideological landscape as possible, and also but to also have it be very rooted in New Mexico. It's sort of, this town Eddington sort of functions as a microcosm for the rest of the country, but it also sort of functions as a microcosm for the politics of New Mexico as well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I want to thank you for making this movie. It was an incredible film. I absolutely loved it. I was stressed out from beginning to end. I'm a huge fan of Twin Peaks, so it kind of reminded me of you are? I go out to Twin Peaks up to North Bend twice a year to go visit some of their events, so it just put me into the New Mexico version of that, following the sheriff's department. Absolutely loved it, so I really want to thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
So there it is. Ari Aster, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever watched a true crime show and thought, I'm ready for something a little different? Maybe crimes that don't revolve around murder? Well, you're in luck. There's a fascinating new docuseries called The Curious Case of, which dives into real-life stories involving guardianships, missing persons, and even funeral home scandals. And who better to guide us through all of these twists than legal analyst and former New York City Assistant DA, Beth. Beth, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much.
Beth, your show takes on some really unusual cases, definitely not your typical homicide stories. So why did you choose these particular topics for The Curious Case of?
So first of all, we found that there is an appetite by the public for stories that don't have to involve murder. If you're a crime aficionado, it doesn't have to be murder and mayhem, right? So this was a nice departure from that. The Natalia Gray series, which was 3 seasons, was very successful, showed us that. So we found these really twisted, weird stories where you go on a journey. Like, what? I mean, it's like head snapping. Sometimes it's like, I can't believe they did this, or who do I believe? I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. So we look for stories that were kind of twisted that would be compelling and capture the interest of the viewer. And so far, so good.
One story that really got my attention centers on Bam Margera, someone who's been pretty open about his struggles. How did he end up on your radar?
That is a bizarre story, and that is something that producers followed for a few years. This is not something that was put together only in the past year, because we have video we created, or captured over the years as he was going through his treatment with a guardian, under the care of a guardian. Lima is her name. The family brought her in. It wasn't like she just interjected herself in Bam's life. And it was temporary. It doesn't exist anymore, the guardianship. But then there's a woman on the East Coast, this was West Coast, a woman on the East Coast who had led one of the Free Britney Spears movements, who then, once Britney was out of her conservatorship, took on the Free Bam. And so we tell, even though it's Bam's story, it's these two women butting heads. Like, what, should he be in a guardianship? Is this doing more harm than good? And who is this person who's leading the Free Bam movement? Is she for real? So in the end, Bam pulls out of it. I mean, Bam reacted positively to the episode. He's married again. He's sober. He seems to be doing well. So it has a good ending.
Another case that stood out to me was the Funeral Home of Horrors. That sounds unsettling. Can you give us an overview?
And that's a recent story, right? I mean, the arrests were in the fall of 2023. They've now taken pleas. This is a husband and wife, funeral directors, who would take money from people saying, yes, we will have your loved one, your child, your husband, your parent cremated. And then they were just letting the bodies pile up in one of their 2 locations that they weren't using. And the bodies were decomposing. And they would give them ashes from someone else or cement dust they'd give the family.
Lastly, there's a case you call the Doomsday Cat Cult. That's a crazy title. What's going on there?
This is a story of a woman leading a conventional life, married with a couple of children, and she wasn't particularly religious, but then she started going to this church, following this woman, and then she sort of went down she spiraled into she went off the tracks. She developed her own church, her own following. Now they're in the Tennessee area, and she's got her followers. It's a fairly small group, but she's got her followers believing that cats are the vessel to the afterlife. And you got to take in to be healthy and assured that you'll get to heaven or whatever. And so these people at their own expense are taking in 30 cats from shelters and strays, whatever, and feeding them and cleaning them and caring for them. Sometimes before their own children or themselves. I mean, it's overwhelming. Some people, a few people got out of this group and talked to us about it, which is how we have this the story of what was going on inside.
Beth, I really like this series. It covers eye-opening situations without that usual murder focus. And I appreciate your time and insights. If you want to check it out, it's The Curious Case of On ID. Thanks for joining me this morning, Beth.
My pleasure, and thank you.
The greatest job in the world must be what our next guests have. Just imagine traveling to any city in the world, sitting down, finding food, finding cultures, and just hanging out with some good people. And that's what, the chef of love, Mr. Jernard Wells, does for a living. So let's chat with this cat right now. Hey, Chef Jernard, how are you, my friend?
I am feeling good. I want to tell you, I love that Paisley shirt. You're rocking it.
Thank you. I think this is the only shirt, the second shirt that I own. So thank you. That is it. Oh, you have the ultimate job. You travel from city to city. You talk to people that you love. You eat the foods that you love. You do things that you love. No wonder why they call you the chef of love. But come on, man. Tell us about the new show, Savor the City.
Yes, Savor the City is my way of sharing love with the world. Now, I said, no more waiting until people are gone to give them their flowers. I said, let's give them their flowers now while they're still here and they can smell them and know how great they are to us, what they mean to the culture. And I think it's so important that others learn and see what amazing gems that we have right at our back doors sometime, at our front doors, the local bakery, the local restaurant, the mom and pop. Let's go and sow into them some of the best food, the history, the culture, the travel. And I'm using the dinner plate to connect us because food is what ultimately connects us all.
And when you're traveling, is there anything that really surprised you? Like maybe some ingredient, maybe something that you realized in a culture that you just didn't get used to or just learned along your travels?
One of the biggest things that surprised me out of all things, I was eating at an amazing restaurant, and this particular restaurant served me shark. It was my first time experiencing shark, and seeing that shark actually tastes like pork chops. Most people say, "Oh, all these different dishes, what it tastes like chicken." No, the shark actually tastes like a sweet, juicy pork chop, which was really amazing, but surprised me because at first I was like, I don't know if I want to venture here. But this is the thing. I want to bring the best to my people. If you're afraid to try it, if you're afraid to travel there, you hadn't experienced it yet, let me be your personal tour guide. I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to share what the food tastes like, give you play-by-play experiences, as well as take you on a journey that you wouldn't get no other way other than joining me on Savor the City.
Chef Jernard, we have you on our show all the time, and we want to say congratulations on your big show.
Right.
Check out Chef Jernard Wells every Thursday night on TV1 for Savor the City at 8 p.m. 7 Central. Thanks again, man, for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
And that's it for Rise and Unwind Raleigh. If you want to be on the show, just email me by going to our website, riseunwindtv.com. There's a form you can fill out, send it our way, and maybe you could be on a future episode. Also, follow us on YouTube. That's at Rise Unwind TV. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe. All the stuff that all those YouTubers say helps us out too. And until next week, that was Rise and Unwind.